A very good morning to everyone. I am Anu Verma, Deputy Director, Ministry of Food Processing Industry. First of all, I will welcome you this global mega food event that is World Food India 2025 and this highly anticipated thematic session that is processed food for nutrition and health. So we are at a fascinating junction in India's food story. As our nation grows and lifestyles evolve, the question is no longer if we process food, but how we can process it further to preserve nutrition, enhance health, and ensure safety, all while celebrating our rich culinary heritage. Today, we will explore how science, innovation, and tradition are converging to create a future where processed food is synonymous with wellness. So, this session could not be more timely. India is a land of superfoods, from our ancient millets to nutrition packed makhana and black rice. The challenge and the opportunity lie in bringing these powerhouses from our fields to global shelves in convenient, nutritious form. So, guiding us through these complex and exciting conversations, we have a distinguished experts perfectly suited for the role. So, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers for this session. Dr. Sujata Jayaram, Head of R&D for Food and Beverages South Asia at HUL. Mr. Varinder Jaiswal, Senior Director and R&D Lead at Mondelez India. Dr. Shilpa Vora, Chief R&D Officer at Marico Limited. Mr. Rakesh Swami, Group President Corporate Affairs at Godrej Industries. Dr. Deepika Anand, Nutrition Specialist with the World Bank. And Mr. Jace, Vice President Food and Beverages, the Solution MEIA at Novonesis. So please join me in giving a huge round of applause for our nation moderator, Dr. Bhavna Sharma, Head of Nutrition and Innovation at Nestle R&D India. So I welcome you, Ms. Dr. Sharma. The stage is yours to steer this.
Hello, everyone. A very, very warm good morning to everyone. I think I'm really excited to be part of this conversation. Let me put it like that. I will try my best to not put any of them under any spotlight, but I'm no promises here. No, but I think it probably couldn't have come at a better time today, especially after the wonderful and a very encouraging thought that was presented by our Honorable Prime Minister. And I think the vision that he set for a Viksit Bharat is probably something that is very, very near to us, something that we all are collectively working towards. And we are very sure that's going to happen. The place we are sitting and this entire occasion probably started in 2017 as a journey. And today here we have more than 90 countries participating, and a very, very warm welcome to all of them from our side. We have about 1700 plus exhibitors here. And I think, if I'm not wrong, about already 65,000 crore worth of MOUs have been signed off, which is a reflection of the kind of confidence that the world is showing to our country. And the expectation is probably to go up till 1 lakh crore of investment. Why is it important? It is important because today the two words which are changing every single conversation, and it doesn't matter which room you choose to sit in, conflict and climate. These two words are going to change everything that we probably had thought when we were students, when we were early in our careers, or we were in certain geographies to say, yes, I have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and a 20-year plan. And this is how it's going to look like and span out. Today, these two things are changing the way we think about food, the way we manufacture food, the way we communicate about food. And I wish it was getting easier, but it is not. It's probably getting more complex, and we have to brace ourselves to stay connected. And when I say that, it's not only about the people in this room or the people representing the organization or the people in one country or even a zone, right? Because end of the day, the biggest endeavor we have is for that one common person, that one child, whosoever you imagine right now, The endeavor is to give them a meaningful value from whatever we are able to do, from different aspects of our own life, right? And I think in that spirit, I will just probably want to put just 2, 3 thoughts as a starters here. The integrated government panel for climate control has already predicted that or shared that we've already breached that 1.5-degree climate thing, right? What does that mean? Of course, it's pretty hot right now. It's crazy hot in many parts of the world where it shouldn't be. What does it have an impact on something like a food and nutrition? It basically means that about 100 or 130 million more people will be pushed to starvation. Okay, and I think that's a report on from World Bank itself. The other fact that we are dealing with is that the land on which the food is grown, the crop, the grain, the soil, we already know from the land degradation report, and it's a similar number for the world and our own country, 30% of the land is already degraded and it's not coming back. What does it mean? That we are actually dealing with a situation where no matter what we want to give or manufacture or make it in our factories or give guidance about, we may not even have land to grow it. That means we'll have lesser space, a lesser favorable situation to grow that much amount of grains or pulses or vegetables or fruits, right? And we have to protect it and preserve it. Because the third fact, which is about your food loss and waste, and we'll hear more during the panel today, is that we are already wasting at an India level about 55 kgs per person per year of food. And this is when we say that anna hi brahm hai, right? And we also say that every food morsel matters to us. And we are actually sitting at a level of 78 million losses. That means we require a kind of a support in processing, where while we do talk about the healthiness quotient, and I think our PMO did mention on it, and I will probably come back to it on the 3 aspects that he picked up during his visits yesterday about importance of nutrition, importance of management of oil consumption, importance of maintaining the healthiness of food products that reaches the consumer. While we all do that, we have to understand the fact that the ministry for our country, the valuable Ministry of Food Processing, is really working very hard across sectors and domains to make sure that this integrated agri-food value chain doesn't get compromised. It is also responsible for protecting not food security, but also livelihoods, huh? And especially when women are involved in it, the women's sector sustainability and livelihood through the self-help groups, the small workers, the small traditional MSMEs or the small working groups, right? They become very critical as a micro ecosystem, right? So we have to understand and respect this thought at a higher level. And I think with that thought, I want to start this session. And I'm really also looking forward to learn a lot from you all, right? So I think my first question is probably the person who's sitting farthest from me right now, Dr. Deepika. And I think there's no one better than you who we have with us. So Deepika, you've been into this public health, agri, nutri ecosystem for a really long time, right? And I know personally that you're very, very passionate and dedicated towards it. So with all the conversations that happen, and you're part of a lot of them, what are the things that you're looking around you, the way the dietary patterns are changing? The role that different nutrients and food obviously play for a good health, but then in your view, how can our processing industry or the processed foods can play a vital role in managing or mitigating the risks which are involved with both under and overnutrition? Because without that, in a positive stream, none of us can exist in a chain to say, if that's what we have to, look at together, this is what we are going to do. So over to you, Deepika, for your thoughts.
Thanks, Bhavna. Thank you so much, and good morning. Good morning, everybody. Bhavna, I'll just build on what the excellent and beautiful context setting that you did, in terms of bringing together different dimensions. And I'll just pick and start from there. So, pardon me if I'm going back to the very basics, but I think the fundamental and the building blocks, if we are not clear on those, anything that you build over that will probably look good for a few years down the line. You have to revisit that. So I would position or bring to this discussion the very fundamental basics that at the World Bank we are looking at. And we all know, I think everybody sitting here in this room is very well aware of the nutrition transition that country and is facing is at the crossroads today. While at one hand we have the unfinished agenda of undernutrition, stunting, micronutrient deficiencies, food insecurity, we are increasingly also getting and seeing feelers and reports talking about that the problem of rising burden of non-communicable diseases and the associated risk factors, primarily overweight and obesity. So I think the time is opportune, as you said, to look at and revisit these statistics and see what's going well, what's going not well, and how we can rejig and or probably transform and or unpack these food systems that are critical, and food industry plays a very important role there in unpacking the food systems available. Over the next few minutes, I'll just bring to your attention key points or the key statistics that we are looking at, and then looking at a nuanced approach towards it. Let me start with the undernutrition. 1/3 of the children under 5 are stunted. 60 to 70% of women of reproductive age group or children below 5 years of age have micronutrient deficiencies, one or the other, primarily anemia. And these are the statistics that we hear and see in the national surveys. This is nothing that the World Bank is reporting. These are national surveys, right? And now look at the same household. Okay, let me add one more dimension, that this is rural, urban, all income quintiles, right? Let's look at the other dimension. 1 in every 4 Indian adult is today either overweight or obese. The major brunt of morbidity and mortality is due to non-communicable diseases that are rising. And why I'm bringing these points back to the discussion is that we were saying that this is the productive age, right? Children under 5 years of age are human capital. Women of reproductive age group, women entering the labor force participation. Thirdly, adolescents. So NCDs, which were looked at, the problems of the aged, or as we age more than 40, that's the problem. But if we now look at the statistics, including India, the NCDs are affecting age group 15 to 45 years of age. Look at the impact it is going to have if 2047 is our vision of Viksit Bharat. That's the productive age that's entering the labor markets, that's contributing to the economics, that's contributing to the GDP. And look at the out-of-pocket expenditures on health that will rise because of this. So that's one approach to look at why we are talking and what is the problem at hand. So looking at both under over. Unpacking the second layer of the onion, as I say, is the diets. Let's talk about, if obesity is rising, are diets contributing to this problem of overweight obesity? And again, we have just looked at the national statistics, national level data, and what we are seeing in last 1 decade is that, yes, the diets are transitioning. Are they moving towards good? Are they moving towards bad? Is all our perspectives. And to look at if it is bad, why it is bad, and what intervention can be done. I will not say what it is. I will just put forward a few bullets and few numbers in front of you. Calorie consumption over last decade increased marginally by 10%. Okay, manageable. It's increasing, fine. Fat consumption increased by 30%. Right? Okay, it's increased by 30%. What is critical and what is probably something to worry about or look at is the contribution of this fat to the total 10% increase of the energy that we are looking at. Are we there? Have we unpacked to that? We can manage. We saw, Honorable Prime Minister talking about reduction of fats. So probably that's one push that we see, and the, at the highest leadership level. The third very interesting thing that we, noticed in terms of over last 1 decade is the consumption of processed foods and sugar-sweetened beverages. That's amazing. That also looks at how the food industry has grown over the period of time. It's one of the fastest industries and one of the industries that is also bringing in people in the labor force market. So we are contributing a lot to the economy. But what do we see there? The processed food consumption has increased by 300%. The sugar sweetened beverage consumption has increased more than 100%. And this is not something that we see which is an urban phenomena or phenomena at the higher income levels. There are statistically very significant effects and seen even at the rural people and even at those who are at the lower end of the income quintiles. So this is great. I think India is progressing on that front. There is improved accessibility, there is improved affordability of these food. There is penetration of these food products there. This also gives an indication of how developed or towards that path we are doing. So food processing has made its roots right to the rural level, right? What bothers is that are we looking at from this perspective of making, and then the third point to what Bhavna just asked me, how food industry can contribute to it. Affordability has increased, accessibility has increased, processing has increased. Processing is now making sure that it's not only food secure population, but also the nutrient secure population. There are products that are being innovated in terms of adding micronutrients to it. So probably nutrient security is there we are looking at. What needs to happen is probably increasing this nutrition sensitivity or the sensitiveness of the food products, of the food processing that reaches the market. The way that we are looking at marketing the products right at that end level, can we work collaboratively? And that's where the issue of partnerships, collaboration, working jointly comes in terms of making sure that consumers know what they are eating and there is a demand for healthy food products. Because food systems are evolving, right? And they will keep on changing. And it is us together who have to go back to the basics and look at how are we progressing on that front? What is it that we need to invest in and how we can do that? So I think from that perspective, I think partnerships, collaborations makes a lot of sense. Mission mode is a very common buzzword that we use in the public health sector, that let's go in a mission mode, right? So can we do that in a mission mode and talk about, generate demand for the healthy food products and make consumers aware of it? One of the studies that we did very recently is unpacking food systems in South Asia. And interestingly, what we found is that although we have a lot of information, lot of data on outcomes, outputs, what's happening, how many are anemic, what we don't know, and what people are eating, what we don't know is that why people are eating what they are eating. What is driving consumer preferences? What is driving consumers' choices? That's one area where we don't have probably data in the larger data sets. There are individual smaller studies that we have, but at the national level to draw that picture is something that we don't see. So I think from that perspective, looking at the nutrition sensitivity lens, food processing sector is like a fulcrum of this food systems transformation that's currently happening. So I'll stop here and probably we can connect.
No, I think Deepika, thank you so much. And I think I can see that integrity and that diligence of data that you just shared coming through the points that you made. And I think we really welcome that, because at the end of the day, we can all go and critique data sets to say this could be done like this. And that's not the point. The point is that how even a limited data set or whatever the data set that we have with us, end of the day, we are talking about improving the quality of life for the people. And food which is either coming from a traditional format, which is converted into a packet product, or a packet product which was completely innovated for our palates, they all have a role to play in different segments, right? And we all talk about the fact that how every food has a role in a diversified, balanced diet when consumed in the right portions and frequencies. So that fundamental doesn't change. And I think very important point that you brought about is to say that why people eat what they eat. And there could be conversations from an insight perspective to sensory perspective to affordability perspectives, right? And I think that's a very, very great start to the conversation. And I think I want to continue with this thought with Varendra, with you, to say that with the kind of penetration of the food products that we have and the ask that is, which is clearly on the table, which is also getting valued up, to say that while there is a certain food which are existing in a certain formats, there's always a way to improve them, right? In whatever way possible, right? Because there is no one solution for all. To you, would you have a magic bullet that you can share with us, right? To say that you actually found the answer, to say that how do we reformulate this? Is it easy? Is it tough? And I'll be also a little honest here and bite the bullet on this one to say that the solutions are there, but the industry doesn't want to do it. We all hear that point, right? Or we are a little shy of doing a certain thing that we probably are capable of. So is it a technology barrier? Is it a cost barrier? Is it an intent barrier? Would love to know your thoughts on this one.
Thank you, Bhavna. I wish we all had magic bullets, but there are bullets. So I think let me start with the broader landscape first. I think Deepika really touched on very good points, and I'll build further on it. But let me start with the consumer. I think consumer of today is fast evolving. So it's not, the food is not just about function. I think like you and Deepika just mentioned about, like, we don't know enough about why consumer eat what they eat. As Mondelez, we are a snacking company, and every year we do a state of snacking study. And we have tried to understand some of these things because everything starts with consumer for us. And what we are learning is food has very strong connection with the emotions nowadays, particularly when you talk about Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Food is not only about just a function for them. Food is about connections for them. Food is about really, some of them even term it as almost like it's a love game for them. So food is much more evolved. So hence, I think it becomes more important that we as a industry has to think little bit beyond what the functional value of the food is. And also, I think I'm sure a lot of you guys would have heard about snacking has also evolved. So it's not, basically snacks are nowadays mealified, which means that meals are being replaced with snacks. Of course, I mean, this is a trend that's now gaining, and of course it will also help with how to balance the nutrition. But that is where consumer is moving now. It's not about three main meals. Again, if I talk about the Gen Zs, for them, basically they are not about having those three heavy meals. They are about snacking, and almost 90% of them snack couple of times during the day. Second thing that's, I think, fast evolving is mindful eating. So mindful eating is, again, it's not about cutting down on the calories. It's about having more options, having a little bit more modulated diets than restrictive diets. Mindful eating is also about being aware what they are eating. So consumer is also starting to now pay attention to ingredients, where it's sourced, what function it's going to have. And then I think social media, of course, is playing a huge role in terms of how people are looking at snacks. I think I was reading a term again through that study. It's almost called a snackspo, where consumers are actually going to social media to see what's new. Vast majority of them then eventually translate that awareness into sale, which means they are much more influenced with social media versus your traditional print and TV and whatever else media that we have used. So it's really important to really convey those messages through some of these channels. And then I think comes those traditional barriers that basically, again, I think some of them Deepika touched. One of them is NCDs. I mean, it's a complicated issue. It's not only the diet, it's like number of other factors, the lifestyles today, the overall nutrition. And I think in a country like India, it's a tension. There is a group which is nourished, and there is a group which is undernourished. So you have to find a kind of a balance there. Then regulatory frameworks are fast evolving nowadays. I mean, a recent development in terms of, how you can make those health claims versus not make health claims. And I think it's a good thing, because science is evolving. With the science, of course, the industry needs to evolve, regulations need to evolve, but at the same time, I think it needs to evolve in a way that it becomes more consumer centric versus it becomes more a barrier that consumers don't now totally understand. Okay, like if if a manufacturer is trying to provide a nutrition, but if they are not able to really communicate that message in a positive way with the consumer, then it also loses the value. And then the next part is about the value itself. Lot of these niche products or health and wellness products, as you said, one of the barriers is like, they are like, when you add a lot of these ingredients, it becomes expensive. And hence, again, a country like India, where you have to manage those tension, that food needs to be accessible, food needs to be available. So you have to find ways to kind of find the right scale. And I think good example is millet, which was almost like a very niche ancient grain few years ago. Now it's becoming a very mainstream. So there is I think good progress. And then of course there are technology barriers, but I think technology barriers are again, I see that not as a challenge. I think that is an opportunity, and we have seen how the industry has evolved. A lot of deep techs have come in, a lot of the startups have come in, and a lot of AI and data-based companies have really helped us to break some of those barriers. And lastly, I think sustainability is very important. I mean, today's evolved and educated consumer, sustainability is an equally important factor. So basically, people are paying more and more attention to where you are sourcing from, what you are adding into the food, how it's impacting their local environment. So I think all these factors, while can be seen as challenges, but I think these are the factors that are helping the industry to evolve. Hence, make it a little bit more friendly for consumers. And I'm very positive that, we all industry partners, I think as long as we are open to this change, we will continue to evolve and provide better choices for consumers.
Thank you. So, if I will take the liberty to say there is no intent barrier, right? I think, like you said, technology barrier is probably at a point of medium, because maybe for certain things it may not be readily available or applicable immediately, but for a lot of them it's available easily. And I think the one that we probably will have to work is to say that in a case-to-case situation, while we could have the best intent, we could have the best strategy, technology and everything, if it ends up creating a product which is either is completely rejected by the consumer, or it becomes so expensive that at the end of the day, it loses its entire value proposition, then it has to be brought back to the blueprint and seen then what is the best way. Because I think we all agree that reformulation is the way ahead, and we are all committed to do it. So I think very well brought out by you to say that we'll have to find what fits where as a solution to this reformulation journey. And we'll keep looking for that magic bullet and a solution that we can all apply overnight. But I think we are in the right direction, right? Thank you on that one. I think to continue the thought, yesterday also our Honorable PM mentioned in his inaugural speech to say that about 25 crore people have moved from the poverty line, and now we have a new class which is called the neo middle class. Now this new middle class is going to be the one which is also going to decide the trends, right? It is also going to demand. It is going to have a purchasing power and a voice. And as you just brought out, Varinder, to say social media, people today with a phone have a voice to influence the entire world. So it's not going to be decided by people in a room, and that room can be anywhere, right? So it is going to be demanded, which means that India is going to open it up itself to probably two kinds of consumer cohorts, just to put it black and white. One is a more personalized one, which are evolved, which are looking for a certain thing. Like you said, they read the labels, they demand, they question, and they are looking for sustainability also, value also. And then there is one thing which is on the mass produced, right? Which is done for a more volume at a daily level. You don't think that much, or you may not be aware about that much. So probably I would really want to know from you, Sujata, from your very varied and deep experience, where do you think as a country we are going, and how does this shift, you see it coming from your experience, towards which side will it pivot? Will it coexist? And what would be your guidance for the industry, or how would you take it ahead from your experience?
Thank you, Bhavna. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the lovely context setting, and thanks, Deepika, for wonderful statistics, and Virendra, food is mood. So there are two things I'm going to pick up from Deepika and Virendra. First, I'll start with him. Food is it's mood food. So that triggered a thought in me, like what I'm hearing now, the Gen Zs are doing for dating is cooking together. So, so this is how it's amazing, right? To hear that it's about expression. Food is about expression. Food is about conveying our thoughts and also understanding the cultural background of where the other person is coming from. So that's the role food has evolved to play. And picking from Deepika and Virender, I'll pick the thread from there and start share my perspectives. So one thing that triggered my thoughts when Deepika was presenting is about diet. And also earlier we heard from Bhavna how because of climate changes, the agriculture produce that we are having today, is it as nutritious as we had in the past? So these two, if I now put together, one of the publication that I want to bring about is there was a recent. This was a publication in 2020. It was about a diet survey that was done with 8 lakh consumers that covers both urban and rural. And there are some very interesting insights that had come from there. Is the problem of India, of course, we consume a lot more carbohydrates. The diet diversity is one of the biggest problem in our diets. Indians consume a lot of carbohydrates and much less of proteins or other vegetables. It is nothing to do with economic strata. It is across the entire the population. So now and one problem also is India we have for addressing the nutrition problem of the country is very reliable, large amount of data, the diet data. I think that is one thing as we all might have to collaborate and create that, especially with the kind of AI power India has. Now, diet diversity is the first thing. I would think that how do we promote and how do we educate consumers to consume diets that has diversity and provide holistic nutrition. Now, if I now look at the second thing about the mood is about are we consuming? Is the consumption becoming uncontrolled because of mood? So then how do we educate consumers about the portion control? So this is one end of the spectrum I would put. And in Unilever, the way that we address this, there is an end about a personalized nutrition, which is a very, very niche segment. And since science is still evolving into this segment, and the other end of the spectrum is personalization. So now, if I now look at population basis lifestyle, what is going to change across ages? It's about the metabolic status of the body and how much is the metabolism slowing down, and also is the hormonal changes. They require different type of nutrients to be boosted at different age groups. So can we create products while we cannot create at a personal level, but we can we create for populations and for segments that require special diets basis the understanding of the nutrition science about what is the nutrition requirement at different age groups. I think this is very doable with the significant advancement in the nutrition science and the understanding about the nutrient requirements at different age groups. This is the approach that we follow. And many of us spoke about the reformulations and providing variants with no added sugars or salt. So this is for consumers. This is to make lifestyle choices, and they might come at a little bit extra cost. But then if there are people who want to make those choices for their lifestyle, then there are products available in the market for that. And the second one, again, this is something when the PM visited the booth, we were talking about how can we use processing to unlock the nutrition power, the nutrients of the agriculture produce that we use. For example, we all know the millets and the grains are very, very good for the body. They are enriched with nutrients, but they equally have anti-nutrients which prevent their absorption into the body. So processing really helps in eliminating the anti-nutrients, make them easy to digest, and help in their improved absorption into the body, thereby give the bioefficacy. I think this is something that all of us in industry are working on, and that is where packaged food and the process comes into play, where we can make a significant the contribution to the public health, leveraging the advancement in processing. So then the third segment, if I come to, that's about specialized nutrition. Today we heard about the addressing malnutrition problems, or we are 1 in 7 in India is having diabetes. So they require a very, very different type of the diets for controlling their blood sugar or to address the malnutrition. So can we develop specialized nutrition products to cater to these segments? I think this is another area that we work on, where bringing in very specialized products. For example, the now protein is a buzzword. I think there's also an education required there. Do you really need the protein? But for those seekers, can we provide protein that is easily digestible, that at least contributes to some percentage of RDA in a daily in a daily diet? Likewise, for diabetes, offering fibers that it's very difficult to get enough amount of fibers that are also easy to digest and bioavailable in a day-to-day diet, especially if you are a vegetarian or don't know how to do a balanced diet planning. I think these are some supplements that can significantly help getting a holistic nutrition day to day, and also in specialized in metabolic conditions like diabetes, in controlling the blood sugar and to improve the gut health. And I think I leave my last thought in this space. The personalized nutrition, something that fascinates me a lot, is about the advancement in the microbiomics, especially the understanding about gut microbiome, the significant advancement, and also there is a lot of direct correlations that are coming in an obese person versus a diabetic person versus normal person, how the gut microbiome profile is phenomenally different. And also this is again a traditional wisdom starting back I think more than a century back, where with diet, within 21 days, it's possible to change the gut microbiome profile. I think this advancement could be an unlock, or of course, it's going to take years. But if you are able to come up with a diverse diet that's able to change the microbiome profile, and the gut microbiome, the gut health is improved, probably that is one of the answer that could unlock how can we create diets that can that not only is tasty and helps in our mood enhancement, but also probably helps prevents to take medicine in the future, but it's a everyday medicine.
Very, very lovely thoughts and very well put together as always, Sujata. Always. You know, and I think you did bring about this whole point on personalization. So it's, I think the right way to put it, it is not a versus. It is not personalized nutrition versus the mass available product, because they are always going to be complementary to each other, because there is a huge amount of population which will require both or one, depending on the need and the time. And we need to continue to build on this. And, you know, I think this brought back one of the core memories during one of my public health visits in very far tribal village where we were going for some work on anemia. And I was carrying a very high superiority complex to say, you know, I come from the city, I know digital media, what would they know, you know? And when we are asking some of the adolescent young girls to come on the weighing scale, and she says, yeah, I know I'm overweight. Okay, and my followers have been declining. And here I am thinking that I am the savior with the God complex to say, I will save you from hunger. And there, that one girl of 15 or 16 years old is telling me, I know what I have to eat. I will not eat carbs. I will eat this. I will eat that. And there is no conversation of anemia or anything. So all I'm saying is that this whole precision, for her, that is her personalized nutrition. This is what I'm going to eat. This is not what I'm going to eat, because my outcome is to look at this level. And like I said, social media at different levels is changing very fast. So I think somewhere we also carry a collective ethical responsibility that when we talk about this high-end science-based consumer-led conversation, which are based on SMT, they are done in a way that is understood rightly by even the people we thought they will never look at us. We are only talking to this segment without realizing there are so many others who are still looking at us. So I think it's a very well connected thought. And to that one, I think I want to continue this thought on personalization and this whole high science and technology based conversation with you, Jess. And you come from an organization which is working on transforming processed food through a lot of biosolutions, right? In different categories. And in your view, we would really like to hear that what are the kind of innovations that you believe are going to pave the way ahead for the future, which are going to not only either bridge the gap for not only Indian consumers or just consumers at large, and how does it contribute positively to the human nutrition quotient of life, which are coming from, like I said, an S&T platform. So, love to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma, and for the wonderful inputs also. It provides a lot of food for thought. And before I answer your question directly, I think the mood or the food or the fundamentals of providing healthy nutrition is also the demand and the understanding. And what I've seen here when I walk around this wonderful fair, right, is there's a lot of demand in the population for healthier lives, for living more healthily. The amount of protein, yeah, maybe it's a little bit there's a little bit of a fad, but it is something that people really, really want, right? So we see fiber, we see protein, fat reduction, sugar reduction, and the drive from the government also to put that on the front of the packaging. That's a fundamental for us to provide healthier lives. The other side, before we talk health, is there are two things that often come first before a consumer chooses a product that's healthy, and that's taste and that's price. So if we cannot enable authentic taste, we normally say that the food is local, right? So we need to be authentic in every single place that we are, and enable our manufacturers, our customers, to provide authentic taste that people really like. Then there will be no health aspect before we get there. And then it needs to be cost competitive for our customers, but also for consumers. Now, if we take care of that, then we can start talking health. And you ask about our solutions, and I can talk about Novonesis and our solutions, but really it goes for all natural biosolutions in that space. And we are into baking, we're into dairy, a lot of those broad categories, beverages that you know. In baking, I think it was mentioned from several of my peers here, fat reduction is a big trend. And that's something we can enable in biscuits, in cookies, in bread, with our enzymes, right? We can enrich protein, we can remove emulsifiers, reduce sugar in bread. And in dairy, it's a bit the same. We have mild natural bacteria cultures. It ferments the milk, but in dahi, in your lassi, in your yogurt, we can reduce the sugar. And then I was so happy to hear about the gut microbiome, our probiotics. We have the two most well-documented strains, BB12, LGD. So you can add that to dairy. That's a fantastic vehicle for consuming your probiotics and improving your gut microbiome. And then again, the protein, both via our cultures, but generally just helping producers build a more protein-rich yogurt is something we can do. And then I think on the beverage side of things, again, we can add probiotics in snacks. We can add probiotics. Happy to hear from Mondelez also about the view on snacks, right? We can add that to chocolates and other snacks. So there's a lot we can do in that space. So that's on the biosolution side, right? From our side or in the industry at large. And then when you look to India, I said a little bit about this on the packaging, but I think there's a tremendous drive from the individuals, but also from government, Prime Minister trying to, I think he mentioned also yesterday about reducing cooking oil. We see FSI promoting Eat Right, a lot about salt reduction, fat reduction, sugar reduction. So the drive is there from India, both on an individual and a government level, and we want to tap into that with our biosolutions. And putting that in a global context, also some of you guys spoke about sustainability, food waste, I hear. We have bioprotective
cultures again that can extend shelf life in a totally natural way. So that reduces food waste. Millions of liters of milk are thrown out. We can do the same in bread with our enzymes, right? So food waste is something we can really fight with these natural ingredients. So I think that's one we can talk about. But in general, um, we have estimated that more than 80% of our revenue contribute to the UN SDGs. So it's really broad based when you talk our biosolutions or the industry's biosolutions. There's really a strong contribution to personal health, but also the planet's health. So I think that's a little bit on that side.
Thank you, Jess. I think you put it very sharply to say, and that probably also connects with the question that we had earlier about reformulations, that, how easy or tough it is. And we talked about the whole technical or an S&T barrier, right? And I think without the ecosystem or the partners which are there, like you talked about the biosolutions, which have to be in line with the current and the emerging regulations, which do not distort the sensory properties, which do not add to exorbitant cost. So all of this together only can enable a portfolio, not only for a country or a kind of a category, but overall matching to the kind of aspirations that what Deepika was talking to say. If we have to be there, and I think, and Deepika, please correct me if I'm wrong, from the SDG perspective of where we should be on stunting for children under 5, I don't even want to get into the number, but it's unachievable by any country, including ours, even in 2030, right? But we have to be there. And that's why we need to work on these science-based solutions, because end of the day, whether you want to claim it, whether you want to use it, whether you want to get it approval for it, you need the data and you need the proof, which has to be done at the last mile as well. So I think some very amazing solutions that you shared, or the thoughts that you put on, which probably a lot of us would get inspired to talk about more later. And with this thought, I want to also come back to you, like Shilpa. I know you're a bit under the weather, but we're not going to let you go so easily. You've been passionately working in this field for very long, right? And India today is probably the third largest ecosystem for startups, right? And we are welcoming, and we talked about the investments and the kind of the kind of comfort and confidence the world is showing towards Indian brands, right, which are also emerging on their own in a very, very solid way. So in your view and your experience in your organization and just in general, I would really want to know that how do Indian brands are positioning themselves? How are they positioning themselves, either in sync together or separately from the global brands? How are they emerging in that direction? What is their domain, right? And also for the fact that certain tags that we all hear about, right? We talk about GI tagging, or we talk about something which is sustainably sourced, or something which is, fiber rich and things like that. How does it have an impact? Does it give a leverage to an Indian brand? And if somebody wants to do that, what should be the direction from? So would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So good afternoon. And I've lost my voice, so I beg your pardon already up front. So thanks for this opportunity. And I think, as it's been said earlier, consumers today are empowered. They have a lot of information. They have access to a lot of knowledge. And I think the question therefore then comes, what is it that we do in India? How do we position ourselves? And I think what really is important, and what at Marico also what we've done successfully, many other companies have also done it successfully, is how do we validate? How do we use science to really validate what we're talking about? How do we ensure, because it's not easy to say what works there will work here. So you need to make sure you're globally compliant. And to me, we spoke again, ingredient provenance. To me, these are probably 3 or 4 different levers that we can think about. Again, as said earlier, to me, it's not about being a trend, right? It's about how agile and how adaptive you are. How much are you listening to your consumer? And to me, they all sort of come together. There is some rich Indian history and knowledge. And I think how India pivots on those global trends starts becoming very, very important. To me, tags like GI and all are not, I think they're just there to more about enabling. I don't think they're two differentiators, because I think every other practice, what it kind of gives confidence to consumer. Okay, there's something to it, but I think the whole movement on transparency, and I think consumers really reading starts becoming important. And are you indeed using the ingredient you've said? Are you indeed putting it at the levels you've talked about? When you think about provenance, I can tell you at Marico, we've been working with farmers for, I don't know, more than 3 decades on coconut farming. And it tells you what happens on the ground. We are able to actually go and influence. So when you think about climate change and things like that, those start becoming important. But um, I think what becomes, the science matters. We've heard it here. A lot of people talk about it. When somebody says it's good for health and wellness, if you don't have the right data, if you don't have the right clinical endorsement, it doesn't work. When you think about premium, we have two brands in our portfolio, True Elements and Flix. And again, these start becoming important because you're now starting to talk to, at the heart of it still is health and wellness. But how am I bringing the Indian, I would say, offerings? So if I look at what we do in True Elements, somebody talked about millets. And it's not like, so we are making sure what we are offering is indeed, going to be, I would say, low salt, low sugar, but also maximizing what you're doing from an Indian context. I just wanted to end because it's been talked a lot on low oil. We are an oil company, so I thought it's good to address it up front. Saffola is the brand, and I think we were extremely fortunate to present to the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday. And we do have a technology on low sorb which allows less oil to be absorbed when cooked with. And I think that is where science matters. That's where processing matters. That's where deep knowledge matters. And I think and a lot of us in the industries come together to really make sure we're talking to each other, so that regulations start becoming favorable. Because when we say clean label, when we say tagging, when we say all these things, end of the day we have to work with regulators to make it easy for the consumer to understand, make it accessible, that information for the consumer to understand. And again, as people talked about, make it affordable. Because a lot of these things, it's very easy to say premium, but you have to do it at an affordable price.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, 100 marks for the right answer, and 200 marks for being so brave and transparent, as always. So, I think you really put it out in a very, very sharp way, right? And I think what you did bring about the fact that also, as we all have been talking, even for the same topic, sometimes we just have a different way of putting a certain idea, and we have different types of experts which are sitting. Like you, when you look at coconut, like you just talked about, your view was about a sustainability. You're talking from a perspective of how do you also manage livelihoods at the back. How do you actually use the best land, like we were talking about, which can manage something on a food loss and waste, right? And it can be seen in a different manner as well by a certain place. So I think there are different views, there are different experts who will bring their own very valuable inputs, and I think hence it becomes critical for us to have sometimes a unified view on a topic which can have an impact if it is not done the right way. And that's where, Rakesh, I want to have your thought that, when we are going through 2 points, and if I pick it up in your conversation, whether it's FLW, which is food loss and waste, we all talked about in a certain way. We all have our own ways and means to manage it. So one, I would like to know your thoughts and views on it. How does it impact? Because that is one thing which is going to impact the entire agri value chain. And we can, like I said, make our own wish list on innovations in our head. But if there is huge amount of wastage, neither the hunger goals are going to be achieved, nor the sustainability goals are going to be achieved. So that is one point. And I think to an extension, and the role that you do in a very, very deep integrity manner, is that how do you bring across different voices together, on a topic, something like even processed food. You talk to, if I could have given a mic to everybody in this room and I said, what's your view on processed food? Trust me, we can fill this walls and all answers will be different from each other. None of them being wrong. So in your experience and expertise, how do you also bring certain people together on conversation on a touchy topic like processed foods, which can be seen from different angles?
Thank you, Bhavnaji. First of all, very good afternoon. Namaskar to everyone. And the panel is very, very learned and very esteemed and in their own way. And they are all specialists if you have seen by now. And we're on the top of the hour, 12:30, and mic is handed over to me. So, in fact, they have done my job very easy. So I need not go into the lot of data details. I'm a journalist. So I lead the corporate affairs for Godrej Group. And you will be wondering, we make houses, high quality houses, FMCG head to toe product. We are into oleochemicals. We are into agriculture. But also we are into the frozen food, processed food, and of late we are into the pet food business as well. So I thought it's very important to bring little diverse perspective here. And we were listening to Honorable Prime Minister yesterday, and we had multiple rounds of conversation with the very dynamic young Minister, Food Processing Industry. So the big question in front of us in India, how much food we are wasting. First of all, we have largest area under cultivation for so many crops. Second, our productivity is lowest in many cases, in many crops. Third, we waste a lot of it. 1/3, almost 33% of our farm produce is wasted in terms of losses. There is a data, NABARD did a study in 2022 along with MOFPI. Every area you see there are losses which are no less than 15%, 22% and all that. Huge wastage in the fruit, vegetable and meat segment as well. So, and if you look at the monetary values of these losses, these are equivalent to 1,50,000 crore rupees annually. Imagine how much of it we are producing with a lot of difficulties, hardships, and the weather conditions, and farmer is struggling, and then we are wasting it. So hence there is a need for this industry to be very strong, which should be the backbone of our Indian industry supporting. That's why we see the agriculture department standing with us, and not only one department can make it happen. So multiple functions will have to come together. We saw the Union Minister Nitin Gadkari ji coming yesterday for the CEO roundtable. So how the infra can, faster movement of these goods can help the economy and help us in saving more. I think these are the questions. What I'm going to, in fact, talk is, and you mentioned very rightfully, there are several myths around it. When it comes to processed food, so people think that it's, probably a junk food. It's processed food is equivalent to junk food, which is not true. So a lot of technology that goes into it, and the food, the vegetables, and also the meat, after it's, as we harvest or after it's slaughtering, it rightly goes into several processes, and we preserve it in order to maintain that freshness, that real taste, authenticity, and also safety of the food. So processing is not equal to junk food. Number two, we always feel that if it is, if it is processed, it is unhealthy, or it is again, some way the open and wet food and meat which is available is healthy. Again, you look at the slaughterhouses in the streets and all, they're so unhealthy, so unhygienic. In fact, if you go there and procure meat from there, you will probably stop eating meat. Whereas in case of the processing industry, there are world-class standards that are available. That's how the food is processed, procured, and then preserved, and then also served to the customers. So there's a huge advantage. And we have a brand called Yummies. So the brand itself, Yummies, was born with a concept that turning the plenty that is wasted into the plenty that is preserved. So with that concept, another note I would just quickly cover is when people say that, when it is a preserved food or it is a processed food, we feel that it is filled with a lot of preservatives. A lot of chemicals are used to preserve it. So that myth, you need to really overcome this. So the technologies that, like I'm talking about Godrej Group and our frozen food category, we use 0 preservatives at our manufacturing plants. Pasteurization, deep freezing, having cold value chain and all that. So that's the technology. All of us, I'm sure, I'll not talk more about chicken because of the Navratris going on. So green peas. I'm from a small village nearby, and my mother would always buy a lot of green peas during the peak season. Very delicious green peas. She will preserve it in the deep freezer and will use it for next couple of months until the stock is over. Same way, I stayed in Gujarat, and there is a very high quality mango, Kesar mango, that only Gujarat produces, though other parts of the country can also produce, but that's very high quality. And the mango shake with that mango is amazing. So we will, buy a lot of mango, and a lot of Gujarati people, they'll buy that mango and, harvest that pulp and put it in their deep freezer and use it for rest of the year to enjoy that high quality, same taste, high quality mango shake. So it's no different that the science and technology or the scale those food processing industries are doing. They're doing it at a different scale with a little bit more modern technology and more nuances to it. So there are more reasons for us and the people at large to believe that what we are doing is far, far better and far, far safe. And to maybe coming to the last part of the question, what can we do about it? It's very important. We can't just live with the problem statement. And we all, some people coming from the scientific background, research institution, my colleagues from the fellow industry members. So what can we do about it? How do we, overcome all these waste that is happening? Ensure that our population is given the safe food, healthy food, and protein, which is again a myth that protein means only the bodybuilder, they need it, or the people going to the gym should have it. But most of our population, 70% population is protein deficient. 60% of our energy consumption or requirement of our body, we are getting it from cereals and pulses in our country. And that there is a scientific data. I am with the scientific community, I'll not refer to it more. But I think there is a need to run a campaign, awareness campaign, which is, of course, our people in the scientific community should back it with the strong data. Our people in the manufacturing fraternity should give clearly what's the kind of processes they follow, and also the government should support it. So we are in very close coordination discussion with the Honorable Minister and the Ministry. How can we run a campaign? NECC came up with a campaign long ago, 80s. Sunday hoya Monday, Roj Khao Ande. Why can't we come up with a new campaign? And it's my request to all of you in this room, apart from the esteemed panel, I can see very, very learned audience here. So how can we together come up with a new slogan? Please feel free to connect with us. We are working on a mission mode. How do we create a new slogan to take this to the new height? So together, I'm sure, and I think the deliberation will be much more meaningful if we drive some outcome out of it and go back to the government to run a campaign which improves not only the competition among ourselves to give the best product, but also to give safe and high quality food to our citizen and make more export out of it. So I would end by saying, there is a huge, gap on this piece, and we all need to work together. And in Hindi, I will say a few lines by Dushyant. We need to change the state of our mind. Dushyant said, "Soch badlo, sitare badal jayenge. Soch badlo, sitare badal jayenge. नजर बदलो, नज़ारे बदल जाएंगे. कश्तियाँ बदलने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. कश्तियाँ बदलने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. सिर्फ दिशा बदलो, किनारे बदल जाएंगे. किनारे बदल जाएंगे." Thank you, Bhavna ji. Over to you.
I think it's a wonderful session. I wish we could go on and on, but she's probably going to throw all of us out. And so to respect the timeline, but I think I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed this whole conversation, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. I will just take a second to, of course, thank you all, because I think this was really brilliant. We couldn't even make past our first question to go to the second round, but I'm glad we got the thoughts out. I think what I genuinely did find here, that we all came out from that whole just my organization, my role, what I do, to that what we do to the entire country, to the world. And I think, as our Prime Minister said yesterday, that the three vectors that we have today with us, which is diversity, demand, and scale, this three being with us, we talked today in such a small time. We talked about from tradition to tech, we talked about harvest to high value products. So, which basically means we have the right building blocks, we have the right fundamentals, and this conversation will have to continue to say. But end of the day, without making it complex, I think the most simple message, if we all go and interpret in our own ways, is food is God, right? Now, whether you see it from a perspective that nobody should sleep hungry, and if I make it more sharper, no child should sleep hungry, right? Whether you see it from a perspective of food loss and waste, so much is wasted, why can't we preserve it and give it? Whether we see it from the perspective that to grow that 1 gram or 1 kg of rice, how much resources have to be put behind, right? And that's also part of the food value ecosystem. If we see it from a perspective that if the food is going to that one child or one family, is it contributing positively to their health? So whether you see it from any angle you want, end of the day, it all comes back. Let's save it, let's respect it, and together only we can do this. So I think I'll just close this panel on that thought. Big thank you to all for sharing your views here and being such a great audience. Sorry, we don't have time for the questions, but these people are here and they're all yours. Yeah, thank you.
The panelists for this enlightening session. Now I request Anu Verma ma'am, Deputy Director, Ministry of Food Processing and Industries, to facilitate the audience, to facilitate the speakers and moderators. I would like ma'am to facilitate Deepika Anand ma'am. Dr. Sujata ma'am. Shilpa. Shilpa. Mr. Jess. Mr. Rakesh. Mr. Virendra Jaiswal.